citizens and residents of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, and more importantly, our young people of our nation, I want to take this opportunity to first apologize to all of you, and especially our young people, for allowing myself to get emotionally carried away, to have made inflamed statements directed at the office of Prime Minister. This has never been my style to spout derogatory statements, intending to inflame or defame anyone. And certainly this is not my kind of language which I would want to encourage as our discourse in public and elsewhere. So to all my fellow Grenadians, and in particular our young and impressionable Grenadians, please excuse my outburst of having said that I would unmask the masked man sitting in the office of Prime Minister. If today was different, I would have indeed unmasked the Prime Minister to show his great qualities of hard work, dedication to country, a scholar, a formidable contender in and out of office, on the playing field, on the job, and indeed a strong family man. I have seen those exemplary qualities over the past 33 years. But like all of us, I have seen the other side, which indeed makes us all human, and therefore we all have our faults and shortcomings. To those of you media practitioners here today, and to those of you listening by radio or through the internet, I want to make it very clear that I am not about speaking ill or nasty about anyone today. I am simply presenting the facts which has caused me to be here in a respectful, responsible, and truthful manner. Therefore, for those of you who have been anticipating juicy stories of hidden secrets or mauvais langue, then I am sorry to disappoint you, but I don't have knowledge of such. I will deal with the facts and seek to clarify some misinformation expressed in the media. I want to give God first the praise for giving me the courage and tenacity which He placed in me to forcefully address the national executive of the new National Party in the presence of the political leader to state my concerns. It was an unprecedented moment, and certainly not the kind of dialogue which the NNP executive has been accustomed to. For those of you who are unaware, I joined the new National Party in 1984 under the late Honorable Herbert Blaise, and I continued supporting the NNP under the leadership of Dr. Keith Mitchell, till recently, save and except a few short breaks. I wish to inform the public that my 33 years of service have been voluntary all these years. I joined not expecting anything in return, just helping to build and create a better and stronger Grenada for all. During my years of service, I have witnessed many persons who came in and out of the party. Some were elevated to various national positions, such as candidates and eventual MPs. Some were appointed to the Senate, others given diplomatic appointments abroad, and I simply watched as a young man then. During those 33 years, I recall asking to be considered as a candidate for the South, but that dream was quickly forgotten, temporarily, as my request was not favored. The years went quickly by, and I again asked to be a candidate, but again, I was turned down. I then asked to serve in the Senate, but that too was not favored. And the personality that I possess, I just kept on smiling and pretending that everything was fine. I was never given any reasons, and I never pressed for one as to why I have been continuously turned down. I have always respected authority and those who are in charge. Nonetheless, I continued working for the new National Party, defending the government and indeed the political leader and Prime Minister at every opportunity. I operated much like an attorney, always defending his client to the best of his ability. I made lots of sacrifices personally, and so, too, did my wife, who had to hold the reins of our small office while I was absent very often. looking after the interests of the new National Party. I lost some friends in the process who thought I was crazy to get involved in politics, and more so with someone who was falsely accused of so many different things during 1984 and 1990. But I kept the faith and kept moving on, supporting the new National Party. When the NDC won the elections of 2008, my family came under serious attacks with our son's investment in a dialysis clinic. Most of you would recall. We had to battle the then Ministers of Health, the Honorable Carl Hood and the Honorable Senator Ann Peters, simply to keep this medical facility open in the interest of the sick patients of Grenada. It was therefore quite a slap in the face after the new National Party won the elections of 2013 that we were shocked to hear of the diplomatic appointment of the then Honorable Carl Hood to China, and later appointed to the position of High Commissioner to London, a man whom we had to fight night and day to keep a medical facility open. He was rewarded. For quite some time, I had to question myself as to why God is allowing me to go through these experiences, and somehow giving me the courage to continue accepting this treatment and smiling at every turn. The answer to that question only came recently, when my spirit said to me very clearly, I kept you in training. It's now time to move on. So fellow Grenadians, in December last year, I again asked the political leader, after so many years, to be considered as the candidate in the South. But once again, I was turned down in favor of Mr. Nicholas Steele, a fine young man. I have nothing personal against him. His response, that is, the political leader's response to me was, "We have had our time. Please help me to build a new team." I quickly responded to the political leader with all due respect and said to him, "Political leader, what time are you referring to? Because the only time I know of is working hard to defend you, your party, and your government. So please let me know what time you were referring to." The conversation ended at that point in time. In May of this year, 2017, I took the opportunity to meet with the chairman of the party, the Honorable Gregory Boeing, to express my concerns about a few matters to which I placed in writing on the 11th of June and copied to our political leader. One of my main concerns expressed was my request to allow the democratic process recently practiced in Carriacou to be so practiced in the South. Dr. Mitchell responded to my letter by calling me the same day. It was the 11th of June, it was a Sunday. And he said to me, "What kind of stupidness you write here?" I was a little bit taken aback, but I responded by saying to him that I have raised some genuine concerns, and if you consider them stupidness, then I guess we don't have anything to discuss. And the conversation ended. I also raised the issue of my old diplomatic passport, which is presently sitting in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and had been so sitting there since early 2012, when it was taken away by the NDC while in office. So it seems as though I have always been getting the sticky end of both ends of the stick. I guess this is part of the training. I merely brought this to the attention of the chairman so that he would understand and appreciate the disfavor I continue to face, despite the thinking of the general public that I am highly favored within the new National Party. The opposite is the truth. I also asked the chairman of the party, had you have experienced such with your ailing wife suffering from cancer, and you went to your political leader and say, my passport is sitting downstairs, can you please make a call so I can have it to ease the pain whenever she has to travel? What would you do? I am yet to get an answer. My friends, because of my wife's very ill health with cancer, that's the reason why I requested the return of my passport. No other reason. I never asked for brand new passports for myself nor my wife. I simply said, can I have it back? It was still valid, plus with a 10-year visa still in it. I think it expires sometime at the end of 2017. The political leader responded to me by saying, whenever you wish to travel, let me know. I said, political leader, I consider your response to be equated as a no, because you know, in this 21st century, no one, not even a prime minister, could call the U.S. Immigration or State Department and request of them diplomatic services or whatever courtesies to anyone. These days, you have to go through the process. You either obtain or you don't. So I said to him, we're not in the 1970s or 80s, political leader, so I consider what you are saying to be a no. And I vacated his office at that point in time. My prime minister and political leader knew very well how ill my wife was. I even shared with him very private medical information and said to him, I have just brought her back from Holland, where she was in hospital. And she only has 6 months. I therefore only wanted to just to ease her pain. Nonetheless, the day came when I had to take her to Miami for her first chemo treatment. God would have it, the Honorable Oliver Joseph was on the same flight. He could hardly have recognized her because of the devastating effects of cancer on her. When we landed Miami, she saw him. She also saw that he was being met by officials, and she said to me, "You got the passport?" I said, "No, darling." That woman broke down in tears. She said, your 33 years, your political leader and prime minister could not have given you back something that's already there? I too worked for 33 years for this party. In case he forgot. It took us 3 hours to get out of immigration because there were hundreds of people there. I could never forgive. At least I'm trying to. Forgive my political leader and prime minister for contributing to the agony and pain of my wife in the last few months of her life. She passed away 3 months after that unfortunate experience. She said certain things to me that I can't mention on radio or television. I will keep those thoughts to myself. This has been one of my most difficult moments, and to hear my prime minister and political leader in the media giving the impression that I was demanding passports from him for my wife and I, it is a blatant lie. Blatant lie. I made no such requests. I simply said, let me have back the passport that is sitting in Foreign Affairs, is valid, and I even went further to say to him, Prime Minister, I guarantee you that I will return that passport to you whenever she so passes, because her time is short. That did not even move him. The ungratefulness that I've seen was unprecedented. I have never done anything wrong to my prime minister and political leader, and I still respect him. I will still greet him well and wish him well. But for anyone to have to suffer such after serving for so long, you have to ask yourself the question, what went wrong? And today I'm still trying to seek those answers. So that has been a very sore and touching point. Very sore and touching point. But I don't want it to be the main issue, because that is really not the main issue. The main issue is the undemocratic and dictatorial style that we have experienced over the years. And I can only want to clear the air so that the public is very clear. So over the past few days, mind you, I have heard comments on radio that I was greedy, that I was power hungry, I was ungrateful, I want to mash up the NNP if I didn't get my way, and that I did not meet the criteria for a diplomatic passport, and that I have benefited so much from the NNP government. I want to say to you, I have benefited nothing from the new National Party government. For 33 years, I served without 1 penny. And I challenge anyone to do research at the Ministry of Finance. I served pro bono. I served voluntary, because that is just my nature to serve. At no time I was even offered a salary, and at no time did I ask for a salary. I served. That is just some of our nature. Some have to serve, others have to do other things. So I would only want to say to those critics, and I know them well, that you are sadly mistaken, my friends. Just to repeat, I never earned a salary over the past 33 years from the party nor government. I never received any government scholarships for my 3 children when they went to universities abroad. I recall just on one occasion, I made a request for one of my sons to attend SGU, and that too was turned down. So I am used to getting turned down from this new National Party administration. But I guess I was a good actor over the years. Maybe I should have been in Hollywood. To show a big smile and to pretend that everything is nice and dandy. That was me. I would want to say, though, that I was not as fortunate as one of his very close friends who received scholarships for all his 4 or 5 or 6 children. And he's well off. I'll say no more. So let me say to those critics, whom I know very well, as I said, that I am not distracted by your false and poisonous criticisms, because the only taste of success some people will have in life is when they get the opportunity to take a verbal bite at you. I consider myself somewhat as a tree who does not bother about flowers that fall, because it is always making new blossoms. So it's not about what I have lost, it's about what I can still grow and blossom. And how my Creator sees me, because I was created to succeed, designed to win, equipped to overcome, anointed to prosper, and blessed so I can be a blessing to others. My friends, I will lift up my eyes to the hills and the forests, from whence comes my help. Now, I don't want us to lose focus on the real issue. So, our democracy and the dictatorial rule of our Prime Minister and political leader, and the swiftness of his appetite to victimize whosoever comes in his way, is what our nation has to deal with. Ladies and gentlemen, I simply asked that the democratic practice in Carriacou be also practiced in the South, which in fact was a poll being conducted in Carriacou with 3 contenders. And interestingly, the person who won the poll eventually came last, because he decided that he wanted the person who came last to be the candidate. Now, how much slap in the face can you give to Carriacou and to the people of Carriacou, disrespecting their wishes? How much more dictatorship do you wish to unleash on the people of Grenada? You have all the power in your hand. Why do you still have to be dictatorial? I believe in life, the more power you have is the more humble you ought to be. Now, realizing that in December last year, our political leader and Prime Minister had no interest to give me the nod as a candidate after 33 years, notwithstanding the fact that he said that caretakers can be changed if they do not perform and that they are temporary. He was opposed to allowing a poll to be taken in the South because I requested it. He opposed that. I therefore decided, after the announcement of Mr. Nicholas Steele, to which I must add was an unconstitutional decision by the party executive, based on the rules of our Constitution, but I would not stoop so low to take our party to court. I would not do that. Instead, I decided to conduct my own poll in the South and to offer myself as an independent candidate with the hope that the party would rethink its position and allow democracy to reign as it should. To date, I have not been officially disciplined because, in my opinion, any such disciplinary action by the party would also be unconstitutional by virtue of the illegal appointment of Mr. Nicholas Steele in the first place. In law, I think it is called ipso facto. So I am still awaiting my letter of reprimand for having disobeyed the rules of the party and having had the guts and the gumption to address the national executive and express myself, something that hadn't been done for decades. It is sad. Grown men and women sit in an executive and all they can say is yes, yes, yes. We cannot build a nation with yes men and yes women. You must stand up and be counted. Otherwise, this country will go to the dogs. No one man has all the answers for Grenada. Let us get that very clear. The ordinary man who cleans the street can probably give you one of the most brilliant suggestions. So therefore I say, encourage dialogue. Desist from dictatorial rule. Whatever I say goes. Desist. It's not too late to desist from this practice. However, I wish to state that 3 days after I addressed the national executive of the party, which was on the 26th of June, and I said to the executive, God does have a sense of humor. I didn't plan it that way. It just all worked out that way. The 26th of June was the first anniversary of my wife's passing. And I said to the executive, here am I. On this day, when she had passed, with thoughts in her mind of regrets, with thoughts in her mind of ungratefulness extended to her, here am I standing to defend my democracy and my 33 years of service. However, after I made my delivery to the executive, I was called on the morning of the 29th of June. So I made my presentation on the 26th, the evening of the 26th, and on the morning of the 29th, I was on my way to attend a NAWASA board meeting. And I received a call from the Honorable Gregory Boeing only half an hour before the board meeting was about to commence. And he said to me, you are no longer the chairman of NAWASA. I suggest that you do not attend the meeting. I said, Minister, when I was appointed, it was in writing. And if you wish to dispose of me, I think the most courteous thing to do is to equally do so in writing. But nonetheless, I respect your office. You are the line minister, and you from time to time act as Deputy Prime Minister, so I will honor your wishes. I will not attend because you are the boss. So I politely called the Deputy Chairman and said to him, please convene the meeting. I would not be able to attend. Today I am yet to receive this letter which indicates that I'm no longer the chairman. But I accept what the minister has said, and it is as it is. I am still also awaiting my dismissal letter from the New National Party. So legally, I am still a member. And the unconstitutional manner in which the appointment of my dear friend, Mr. Steele, was carried on, that too is unconstitutional. So maybe they're taking some legal advice, because any dismissal will equally be unconstitutional. We seem to be in a legal quagmire. However, I had also learned that I was also dismissed as the chairman of the financial complex, to which I was reappointed to that position and to that board on the 23rd of February. If the media needs evidence of that letter, I am prepared to show it to you, not give it to you, just show it to you. Because I still respect and honor confidentiality. So, when I heard the statements made by my brother, the now PRO, the Senator Simon Steele, that the changing of chairman, it's a process in the works. And then I heard the Prime Minister's statement, and I said, well, they should have gotten their statements clear in the first place. While it is true that the Nawasa board was up for reappointment, because it expired on the 30th of June, and a new board had to be appointed. But I can't help but wondering the swift action from the evening of the 26th, and on the morning of the 29th, I was gone. But I'm like a tree. Flowers fall to the ground, and I make new blossoms. The lesson here, ladies and gentlemen, is if you oppose my decision or otherwise, you will feel the weight of the, I don't want to call it the revel, I would say you would feel the weight of the office of Prime Minister. Victimization. My friends, the rule of dictatorship is getting stronger and stronger in our country. Believe it or not. Our democracy and free speech are being undermined. They are under attack. Big men and women are afraid to express themselves because of the fear of being victimized. Is that the Grenada we want? Is this the Grenada that we hope to develop? Such practices, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Grenadians, is stifling the growth even of the New National Party, and certainly the growth of our nation. One man does not hold all the answers. But one man deciding the way our country should go is a very dangerous trend, and I do hope that a change of style can occur quickly. It is not too late for him or for those who practice such dictatorial rule to change. God can make miracles of change in people. I hope it happens to our dear political leader and Prime Minister. Make no bones about it, our Prime Minister is a very strong leader, has a lot to offer his country, but he must change his ways so that his team can breathe freely around him. It's amazing. I must say, however, that I may have contributed to this over my years also, and I plead guilty of not speaking up against his style of leadership in the past, and therefore I apologize to the Grenadian people. I stand guilty of that charge. And it seems as though the older he becomes, the stronger his will is to show his power, to victimize anyone who crosses his path. I don't know where I have gotten the strength, quite honestly. Friends have said to me, Terry, when you addressed this executive, we were dumbfounded. And I could see men with their eyes ready to fall off, their mouths open, because such has never occurred over the past 15 or 20 years, save and except when the A-team was around. And I'm going back in the 1980s, thereabout. So my presentation was a very unusual one, but I felt that I was led by the Spirit. I just could not take any more. Fellow Grenadians, as a small nation, we need all of our minds, all of our brains and ideas to work together in harmony to meet the growing challenges of youth unemployment, underperforming agriculture sector, our food security issue. We need to address ourselves to a national development plan and the zoning of our country, just to name a few. But I want to just touch on the food security, because I've said it over and over. God forbid if there is a major world war and there are no ships coming to Grenada with food, what are we going to do? How are we going to feed the 110,000 people in Grenada? Our productive trees all over are still under vine from Hurricane Ivan. I'm not saying that this particular government is to blame altogether. There needs to be a national effort towards re-strengthening our agricultural sector. I myself come from an agricultural sector as a young boy, and I could recall it was a pleasure going into the fields, getting wet and working. I don't know what has happened over the decades, that it seemed to be now something shameful to be in the field. We have to change our course. Ladies and gentlemen, God forbid if boats can't come to Grenada to drop off canned goods, which are no good for you anyhow. They are processed foods. Processed foods are no good for you. Sugars are no good for you. They feed cancers. Processed foods and cans feed cancers. At another time, I will talk about all my research in cancer, all the way to Italy. Matter of fact, I gave an article in the local newspapers to mark the anniversary of my wife's passing for the cure for cancer, asparagus. Asparagus, a simple vegetable. And there are lots of studies which show that it worked. We can grow asparagus right here in Grenada. It removes kidney stones, it kills cancers, it has a powerhouse of nutrients in it, and we can grow it right here. And our people can be free of cancers and kidney stones and other illnesses. But that's for another opportunity. As I close, let me say to all my NNP friends who may have mixed feelings about me, please be assured that I am the same loving person who had to endure and to internalize many disappointments over the past 33 years. And today, my God has given me the courage to speak out about the abuse of power. So I would like for you to think about it. To my friends, and I have a few in the National Democratic Congress, let me say to you that this is not a time to be rejoicing. This is a time for all of us to realize that Grenada needs all of its citizens. And therefore, let us all, as a people, come together for the upliftment of our country and our people. Too much productive time is being spent every day by all of us just listening to political rhetoric on radio rather than getting productive. We spend from 6:30 in the morning, when that program is over at 7 o'clock, we then tune on to a 9 o'clock program, then we go on a 10 o'clock program which goes up to 12. And our people just listen and wallow in rhetoric, while our productive sector goes to waste. We need to get serious. We need a new direction. We need a new sense of purpose. We need to embrace all of our people on all sides of the fence in a new vision for Grenada. Just imagine every year, 2,000 young students leave school and go home. Joblessness. Imagine that. Every year, from TAMCC and other schools, 2,000. What are we doing about that? Why don't we use these hours on radio to discuss strategies as to how we can uplift these young people, find them job opportunities? They have creative ideas too. They can make wonderful suggestions, and the rest of the general public certainly can contribute to that. Let us talk about how we can plan to solve this growing problem rather than trying to see how each side, both NNP and NDC, could now use my statement here today to make mileage for each other or to reprimand me. I guess this may be the talk show for the rest of the week, rather than getting productive in our fields and doing other things. We need to get serious, ladies and gentlemen. As I close, I want to thank the many family members, friends, and well-wishers, locally and abroad, for your prayers and concerns. And to my special friends in Montoute, the Valley, Woburn, the Lions, Belmont, Jarnglade, Grandans, and throughout the South, I say thank you for your support, love, and guidance. May God bless us all. I thank you very much. If there's time for any questions, I'll be happy to respond.
Ken Rabbitis, Digital Media. 3 questions for you briefly. There are those, for example, who may be saying at the moment, you have come forward to this press conference because, one, you have sour grapes at the moment, that you did not receive the diplomatic passport and other things, and so it is in that context you come forward. That had you received the diplomatic passport and so on, you perhaps would have stayed silent. What have you to say about that?
You might be very true. You might be very correct. I'll be honest with you. Maybe I would have probably stayed silent. But God works in mysterious ways. And sometimes his ways we can't understand. Destiny probably just had to be that way. Because as I said earlier on, I am guilty of having watched this practice for many years and said nothing. I guess I didn't have the courage then. I thank God that he has now given it to me.
Also, the Prime Minister said during his post-cabinet press briefing that you brought the request to him to have your diplomatic passport returned to you, and he said to you there must be a basis for a diplomatic passport. However, he is going to make arrangements for you and your wife within the diplomatic community. How do you respond to that comment by the PM?
That is a stretch of the truth. His exact words were, "When you're ready to travel, let me know." And I responded, "Political leader, we are in the 21st century. This is not 1970 or 1980, where you can make a call or send an email. So therefore, I consider that this is a no. But I have not shared this before. I have asked other ministers who were ministers of foreign affairs what is the status with my passport there? Because prior to me having to take my wife monthly to Miami when she came from Holland, I was traveling twice a month to Holland to look her up. Took me a day and a half, sometimes 2 days to get there, just to spend 1 week and then to return. Surely, at that time, I was making requests, and those requests were being turned down, or in fact, I wasn't getting anywhere with it, because I said, time is so critical to have to wait in long lines at immigration in be it New York or Miami or London. I could simply dash to the diplomatic line, get out of there within 15, 20 minutes, and get to the hospital in Holland. But when I realized that it was not going to be given, this is why, and this is when I went to the political leader. So in other words, he would have been asked several months before that I have made this request via Ministers of Foreign Affairs. And they were the Honorable Mr. Nimrod and the Honorable Mr. Nicholas Steele. The responses were always, well, let me look into it.
Final question, and I'll make way, of course, to my colleagues in the media to ask you as well. Can you confirm at the moment that you will indeed be running as an independent candidate in the next general election for St. George South?
Yes, indeed. And I wish to proudly say that I will be the independent candidate for the South, win or lose.
Siobhan Benjamin, MTV. Mr. Forrester, good morning. Well, Kenroy, you stole my question there. Your intentions, I wanted to figure out your intentions coming out of this press conference. And I'm also bringing this live on MTV's page, and a lot of people are asking one question, and most people here are thinking it. How come it took you 33 years to speak out on issues you're now saying have been plaguing the new National Party, dictatorship and these stuff, for instance? Other people are asking why the change of heart now, when earlier you promised on unmasking. I mean, it's juicy stuff for a lot of people who are looking in for that. What caused the change of heart all of a sudden? It's about 3 days, and now you have changed your mind as to the things you were promising to expose, what people are looking forward to. So what caused that? What's your intention, and how did it take you 33 years? Is it these two issues, the passport and Nikki Steele, that caused that? If that didn't happen, would you be still there?
No. Let me say to you that this is like a relationship. I have seen some wives and husbands remain in battered relationships for much longer than 33 years. I can probably equate myself to one of those. And because of my fear over those years, and seeing the fear of others not speaking up, at that time I did not have the courage. I just did not have the courage, and I plead guilty for that. As to the strength that has now been placed in me, I can only say it is spiritual. I can only say it is spiritual, because my spirit has spoken to me very, very clearly. I have kept you there for 33 years. I've made you suffer. I now want you to move on. Those words were like if somebody spoke them right in front of me. I have prayed over the last several weeks and months to ask for guidance. And if this is the guidance which I believe I've received, then I know my Lord and Savior will see me through.
Good morning, Mr. Forrester. My name is Linda Schrick, and I'm a freelance journalist. My question to you I have quite a few, but the first one will be on the issue of your complaint regarding a diplomatic passport. Are you acquainted with the rules and regulation of the Vienna Convention as it relates to diplomatic holders? And secondly, behind the back of every passport issued in Grenada, and I've checked so far with all CARICOM passports, it says, this passport remains the property of the government and may be cancelled or withdrawn at any time. A passport so cancelled or withdrawn shall thereupon become void. Why can you explain that your request to have the passport that was withdrawn from you in the NDC government, why do you think that it was still valid?
Ms. Straker, you obviously did not hear me very well. I made it very clear that the passport still exists, is valid, it was there, and the same criteria which was used to give it to me, that criteria has not changed. I am a foreign investment representative for the government of Grenada at the time. I worked with a Dr. Askell Fisher, and I was his traveling companion to travel the globe to look for foreign investment opportunities. That was the criteria used at the time to issue that passport, and that criteria has not changed today. But notwithstanding that, it would have been very easy when I made my request for this to be shared. Well, I'm sorry, I cannot give it to you because of X, Y, or Z. Not say to me, when you're ready to travel, let me know. That indicates all is still well. But I know that statement was not genuine.
My other question to you has to do, in your statement you said that you have not got anything beneficial from the NNP during your 33 years as serving with the party and as the time the party has been in office. However, you have admitted to serving on 2 boards. To the best of my knowledge, boards do pay board fees. In some cases, chairmen receive more than the regular members. With that background, can you share with us how many boards you have served on while the NNP has been in office? How many investors have you represented? You just a while ago explained to us who were your traveling companion and in what capacity you get that. And in his case, any of these investments, did you serve as a director of the companies established locally?
Ms. Straker, serving on a board is something that most Grenadians have the privilege of doing. This is not a party thing, so to speak. Lots of Grenadians serve on board because of their capabilities. And the boards, the 2 boards that I served on, the income on it was $650 per month. $650. It's a stipend because it is considered free service to the organization. I have served on several of such boards, essentially to help build capacity within these organizations. And the time that I've spent there, compared with the time that I could use for myself, certainly cannot compensate. But I believe that you have to give back to your country. You have to give back to society. And I'm a very giving person. And I've given my time and expertise over these years to serve on many boards. One in particular I can recall was the offshore financial sector. When I was called in to clean up the mess there, that mess involved having to dump many, many licenses from banks who were operating under the radar, so to speak. I cleaned up that mess. I then went on to Housing Authority to clean up that mess, and several other statutory bodies. I was known as the cleanup man, so to speak. And they all was in the region of between $300 and $650 a month, which can hardly compensate anyone in Grenada. Simple gardener makes more than that per month, per week in fact.
The C part of the question is whether or not you would have served as directors on companies established by investors, and probably how much.
Over the years, I have not served as director on any foreign companies, except more recently. And when I say recently, within the past 6 months. Prior to that, I served on no foreign company as director or manager or any of such.
Would you mind sharing with us the company you would have served as a director on?
I said this is only 6 months ago. The record's in the registry. You can have it checked.
And my final question for now has to do with, you opened with giving an apology. Was this apology something that you were directed to give or something that you did on your own?
I speak on my own. I'm not directed by anyone except from the Master, Jesus Christ.
Good morning, Mr. Forrester. Anisha Samuel from the Grenadian Voice newspaper. And why are you waiting to be dismissed rather than resigning from the party?
It has a legal connotation to it, I may say.
Can you elaborate on the rules that the executive broken in regards to selecting the caretaker for the South?
The constituency branch is the one legally responsible under our Constitution to make recommendations to the national executive, and the national executive, therefore, will consider the request. That was not done. Mr. Steele was selected, not elected, selected. Therefore, it goes contrary to the Constitution and rules. My dear, in relationships, sometimes wives and husbands stay in relationships for all sorts of reasons. Some of them go beyond 33 years. And sometimes you just don't get the courage and strength to move on or to speak out. But God guides everything. And I'm saying He has now bestowed upon me that courage. And I have said to Him in my prayers, why have you kept me out there so long? Why have you kept me accepting this so long? And the response was very clear to my heart, to my spirit. I kept you there in training. It's now time to move. I am not encouraging or inciting anyone. People are free to allow their conscience to lead them in the right direction. I encourage them to pray deeply before making any decision. I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything.
Good morning, Mr. Forrester. You said that you have served the NMP for 33 years. Let me just ask you this. Did you at any time over the years go anywhere on instructions from the Prime Minister to collect funds from anyone for the new National Party?
No, my dear, at no time whatsoever.
No time whatsoever?
No. And I'm not a collector for anyone.
Okay, but that is what I was getting at. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Forrester. Miriam from representing WeFM. I'm just trying to understand here. You're here, well, first of all, I mean, the whole country has been waiting for today, for the unmasking of the masked man. And we've been anticipating some juicy news or information. And now you're telling us there's no information. You're just telling us that you're upset about the passport and the fact that the candidate's been determined and you're the new candidate. So is this, first of all, is this your way of launching yourself as a candidate for the South? Also, is this, what do you think the people is gonna say or feel towards you, psyching them up for juicy gossip and then you just had to apologize? What do you think people are gonna say about that?
Well, as I said earlier on, sorry to disappoint you if you were looking for anything further. I made it very clear that I wanted to clarify a number of things, didn't have the opportunity. And when I gave that clipping to the MTV, I must say I was highly emotional at that point in time. Something touched me regarding my deceased wife, and it riled up in me. Made that comment. I should have called and asked that it be cancelled, but I didn't.
Okay, you mentioned 33 years. There's been 33, I'm just a little over that, and I know the littlest thing would upset me and I'd walk away. To stay with a party for 33 years, I'm trying to figure out what it is that kept you there. That was, if there's no money, what was it that really, that attractive to you, that really kept you in there for that length of time?
My dear, I have the personality of serving. Some of us, we have different gifts and talents. One of my talents is serving, without looking for reward.
But you're saying that the service that you have experienced over the years is a dictatorship type and you're not comfortable with it. So you're serving under a
Repressive.
regime that you're not happy with, but you still serve? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
indeed. And somehow I questioned myself of not getting angry sufficient enough
For 33
to leave.
years.
Yes, honestly. And I had to pray at times to say, well, God, why don't you make me angry so I can leave? And somehow I just wasn't getting that in my spirit. No. Please don't. Please don't. I'm not blaming him at all. I'm saying that for whatever reason I was kept there, he obviously wanted me to be there for that period. And I served and continue to serve. I know most of you would not believe it, or probably would not have the courage or the strength to act in that manner. I guess this is what the good Lord wanted me to do.
Mr. Forrester, you know, I'm looking at you this morning, and I'm wondering if it's the same Terrence Forrester who I interviewed many times on Beyond the Headlines, who would put your neck on the block for the Prime Minister and political leader. I remember especially with the briefcase affair, when you were saying to me, if it's an allegation that I cannot use it as a story. I mean, what was going on then that is not going on now?
Well,
When you stuck your neck out on not only the briefcase issue, I'm sure you recall many interviews you did, and you were very critical of the other side, but standing up for the man Keith Mitchell. So what was good then that has turned sour, for want of a better term, now?
Mr. Smith, regarding the briefcase issue, I personally spoke to the Prime Minister, and I said to him, I would like to have the truth surrounding this matter so I can defend it tooth and nail. And he assured me that he was innocent of the allegations. And I said, Prime Minister, that's all I need to know. And therefore, I continued defending what I believed then and still believe now, that he was innocent. And if anyone can prove otherwise now, then and then I will change my mind.
But if we ever ask ourselves, the Prime Minister would have gone to St. Moritz, which is a foreign country. Who was the security for him? Did the people in that country know he was there, or coming, or going?
Well, Mr. Smith, I think this is a question that you need to ask the Prime
No, but
Minister
in
himself.
you accepting what he said is true.
Yes.
These are questions. Why is it that you went there alone? Why it is that the country to which you went wasn't informed?
Let us,
That as
let
a-
us make it very clear,
as a
because you may sound a little bit not clear. I did not go there. Let's get it clear. I did not go to Montmorency, Switzerland. I never went to Switzerland. No, I just wanted to clear the air because you made certain pronouncements there that could probably misguide individuals. I said you would have to ask him that. The matter is a closed file as far as I'm concerned, and I acted as I said earlier on, almost as an attorney-client relationship over these years. You defend your client to the best of your ability, and you trust the information given to you.
Sometimes you tell the client, plead guilty, make
Well-
it a lesser sentence.
Then that also is an option.
Let me ask you one last question, Mr. Forrester. What is the situation regarding, I haven't heard you mention anything, in terms of a vehicle that you were using, as people say, the big time vehicle that you were using, which has since been taken away. Is that any truth on that? And what is the situation with you and your job with Mr. Liu?
Well-
Not L-E-W, but L-U or something.
Well, first of all, let me correct you. The vehicle is still in my possession. Mr. Liu, unfortunately, has been asked to dismiss me, and I've simply said to him, what a change of heart. But he could not respond. He did not say to me what caused him to arrive at that decision. So I simply said, we shall operate under the laws of Grenada. And therefore, my attorneys have filed an injunction. And until such time I am adequately and legally compensated, this vehicle remains in my care.
Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that injunction?
I would prefer not to go into details.
Is
It's
there a
legal
date
matter.
set for hearing?
I just said, I prefer not to elaborate on such matters. It's a legal matter.
Okay. My question to you has to do in your opening, where you said the appointment of Carl Hood after the 2013 general election, you describe it as a slap in the face. Would I be correct to say that you became upset back then since Carl Hood was appointed? And the second question has to do, a lot of us, I think every one of us here has traveled, and some of us might have feel ill or unwell, some of us even taking medical attention overseas. Have you at any one point in time enforced airline policy on traveling with a sick person?
You're asking two questions.
Yeah, I would like an answer.
You're asking two questions. Yes, Mr. Carl Hood, as you know, was one of the main individuals antagonizing us morning, noon, and night, and issuing threats of wanting to shut down the dialysis clinic. I am sure you do recall the threats that was issued then by the then Honorable Carl Hood. And to have had to sustain the agony and the pain of dealing with that, I think Brother Lou Smith may probably clarify. On one occasion we had a television interview with you on the matter. And for this individual to be rewarded, put it that way, by my party and government, it is a slap in the face. And my family considered it a slap in the face.
So do you see your personal interest is superseding government's policy?
No, it's not about my personal
Because the decision to
interest.
appoint Mr. Hood would have been a government policy. Your issue
Yes,
with
indeed.
him would have been something personal. So now that you're saying that your party, are you saying that the party should have seek your interest instead of seeking national government policy?
No, not my interest. Not my interest at all. At least we are humans. And if this was being done to you, you certainly would have expressed some surprise. It is unusual in our political scenario for your opponent, whom you would have battled for 5 years, to be then embraced and elevated by your own party and government.
Just going on a bit further, my other question had to do with enforcing, evoking airline policy on treating the sick or the unwell. Have you at any time, when traveling with your wife, asked that it be enforced?
Asked whether if I can
Yeah,
have
airline
that.
will have a policy when a
done.
person is unwell, how they're
Yes,
treated.
yes, I've had to do that thereafter.
And you were, even if you were
Yeah.
enforcing that, you still had to spend 3 hours in line.
Oh, yes, sometimes you go to Miami Airport and there are hundreds, sometimes thousands of people when flights from South America, Central America, the Caribbean all converge in there. Trust me, the lines from here to the Carnage.
And my final question to you at this moment would be, you've been in the NNP for 33 years. Throughout that 33 years, lots of change in this world, in particularly right after 9/11. Now the battle we are fighting is one of anti-terrorism linked with corruption and money laundering and so. During that period, Grenada has legislated a number of new legislation. One of it has to do with the fight of corruption. Are you aware of the definition that Grenada carries as corruption?
Yes, I am.
Are you, your knowledge of it, anything have you done within the past 4 years, do you think it falls under the definition of what qualifies as corruption?
My dear, I am as squeaky clean as can be. You can check wherever you wish.
Just one quick other question. This is going to be my final question to you because I just want to get some clarity. You say that you attribute, in fact, the announcement of the caretakers for St. George South and Carriacou and Peter Martinique is unconstitutional. Can you
No,
tell
just
us?
to clarify, I
Yes,
never
go
said
ahead.
that Carriacou was unconstitutional. I said that Carriacou had a poll
Out
carried
of what
out.
you said?
I said Carriacou had a
poll.
poll
Okay.
carried out to choose the candidate.
Okay, but you maintain St. George South.
Yeah.
Right. Can you speak specifically, what does the constitution of the party say must happen?
I think I just recently gave that report in that the Constitution states clearly is that the constituency branch, South St. George, is mandated to make recommendations to the National Executive.
Okay, so since we're wrapping up, I've been listening to you, Mr. Forrester, and I seem to be picking up that you also have issues, not just with Carl Hood, and the fact that he was a former NDC member and got, well, let's say diplomatic appointment under your party, because you still say in your party. Is there a sense that
I'm
you
not
are,
yet fired.
yeah, is there a sense that you are also upset over the appointment of a few former NNP candidates, NDC candidates and former NDC MPs and so within your party, and you were overlooked in that regard? Peter, David, and these guys, for instance, are now getting prominence in the party.
No. I was upset with the Carl Hood issue because we were dealing with a medical facility, a facility that was intended to heal and to meet the medical needs of sick Grenadians. And therefore, I thought it sick to consider appointing such a man after he did everything to prevent and to avoid the sick people of Grenada receiving kidney dialysis treatment. How much sicker can you get?
Hold on, there's a question at the back.
Morning, Mr. Forrester.
Good morning.
My name is Samuel George. And just before I ask the question, I want to note that I also supported the NNP for 33 years before I left. First question concerning the briefcase allegation. At one time in a rally, I could remember the Prime Minister saying to us that his damn money is his, and he's sorry he did not get more. Whether he got it in a briefcase or in a paper bag, I want to know if you didn't have any change of thought when you heard that, if you heard that.
I did hear it, and I did ask him, and he said precisely what he reported to the inquiry, that the amount received was for his travel expenses, hotel, etc.
But is
I
it
believed.
legal, the manner in which it was carried out, it is
Well,
legal or is
My
it
friend,
right?
I am not here to defend the issue of the briefcase. Such questions need to be asked to the Prime Minister. I am not his legal attorney on this matter, and therefore my position of PRO of the New National Party no longer exists, And I would not entertain any further questions on briefcase.
Okay. And in the area of corruption, a lot has been said concerning our Prime Minister and government with corruption, linking with corruption. In your view and experience, can you share anything that you believe is along that line? Can you say that he's clean of corruption?
I have no such information, as I said in my opening remarks. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I have no juicy, nasty stories that I'm aware of to share with you nor the general public. I believe if you wish to ask those questions, you know exactly where the office of Prime Minister is, and you know exactly where the PRO of the party is, and that's where your questions need to reside.
Okay, final question. Can you share with us your relationship with Dr. Mitchell at this time, if you like?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I saw him only on Saturday at a function, and I greeted him well, and that was it. I have nothing personal against Dr. Mitchell. I'm only saddened of some of his style of operation and trust that he would amend. But there's nothing personal, at least not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I have one that just come up. If you become successful in the South and you're asked to serve in the government of the NNP under the leadership of Dr. Mitchell, will you accept it?
It's a decision I would have to review.
Thank you very much.
One thing, finally for me, one thing I didn't hear you mention, the fact that you led the New National Party's election campaign on 2 occasions, successfully. At the end of each one, you must have thought there was something coming towards you, because it is sort of a norm when a person successfully leads the party to an election, which will mean, particularly in the case of winning all 15 seats. You must have thought on the first occasion, and well, you lost. You didn't get anything, as you said, and as we know. But after the second one, I mean, what was the feeling then?
My friend, Brother Lou,
And you still stayed with them, even after that sort of treatment.
it is the norm, and it happens in all political parties. You serve, and you don't expect any rewards in return. It's a service to your country via a political organization.
This is
They are-
21st century, in a sense.
Yeah, there are individuals who are serving in the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, Sir Optimus, and lots of other clubs for decades. They serve without an income. They're
Yeah,
just
but
some of us
That's a
who are
these are service
endowed
clubs. With all
with
due respect,
service.
Mr. Forrester, these are service clubs. I
Yeah.
served the GCs for years.
Yep.
I served in both here and in Montserrat.
Exactly.
Likewise, the Lions in Montserrat.
and you were
only.
never paid anything.
But you don't look forward to money. You serve with
Exactly.
honor and not for honor.
Well, that's
But when it
precisely.
comes to politics,
No, no, no,
you
it's-
no serve with.
It is similar. It is similar.
I
If
don't
you
see-
ask anyone in the NDC, they will give you the same response. They serve because it is within their hearts so to do, and they serve because they have love
Not
of
only
country and people.
Yes, sir. They get to serve on boards. They get
Not-
certain positions.
Not,
But we know that.
that
So, I
is
mean,
that is
the,
neither.
the amount they get in the
I don't
actual
think
salary.
that they are doing it for that purpose, quite honestly, because serving on
You
a
check
board,
the boards, they always, I'm
serving
not
on a
blaming
board
NLP alone, you know,
is,
all the parties
takes
do
up
that.
a lot of your time, honestly.
All right, sir.
Takes
Thank
up
you
a
and
lot
good
of
luck.
your time.
Good afternoon again, me again, morning. Just one last something. You mentioned agriculture and food security in Grenada. I mean, we have been seeing the way we treat agriculture, and we really turned our backs on it. I'm wondering, have you ever brought that to the attention of your party's executive or in any one of your meetings, and now that you're coming forward? I'm really passionate about agriculture personally, and I just want to know, was that something you've been trying to kick off in the past, or is it just something you're trying to move up forward with as you're standing on your own?
As a matter of fact, I have expressed this before. I come and I emanate from an agriculture family, hence the reason my name Forrester, from the forest. So I am used to agriculture. I grew up in agriculture, from Birch Grove, Chantilly, etc. and therefore it is part of my blood. And it saddens me to see the state and condition of agriculture today. I'm not just blaming this government. A host of governments are to be blamed for the state of our agriculture. And I'm pleading that we take this issue of food security very seriously. I think when we listen to the news on CNN, it will tell us that a time bomb is ticking. And if we don't get our food security in order very quickly, we may have a lot of hungry mouths, which I hope is not the case. Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for coming. May God bless you all.